How you doing? My name's Joe McGee, and we are blogging about security here. I'm here with Mike Rothman, the VP of Strategy of EIQ Networks. Mike and I are going to talk a little bit about EIQ Networks and the product SecureView, and just learn a little bit more about what it has to offer. Mike, give us a quick overview on the product.
Great. First of all, hey Joe. Great to be here. EIQ Networks is roughly in the security and compliance management space. So we've got a platform called SecureView that's really focused on solving four problems for customers. Security automation, which is you got too much stuff out there, too much data, don't understand what you need to do on a given time. Right. So basically you kind of correlate all this stuff together and figure out what you need to be doing. We do compliance automation as well, so for folks that have things like a PCI problem or SOX or HIPAA or any of those other ones, we gather all this data, help package it up, analyze it, and report it along the lines of what the specific regulation requires, so that an auditor can take a look and say, oh, I can see how you substantiated your technical controls, and it works from that standpoint. We also do something that's unique in this space, which is configuration assessment. So one of the core foundations of most secure business practices is to lock down the device configurations that you have running your technology environment, where we can assess a number of different devices, routers, firewalls, hosts, desktops,
so
and make sure
something that, in my opinion, looking at the landscape is pretty different. So it's a combination of your traditional SIM, if you will, and compliance management, along with change management,
along with configuration assessment. So as opposed to management, we talk about assessment.
Gotcha.
But what's unique about what we're doing technologically is most of the existing, I'll call them first generation SIMs, are built upon a relational database backend. Right? When all you had was that back in the early 2000s, that's what they were built on. With SecureView being architected and built within the last 3 years, we've built our own proprietary data store that captures not just logs and events, but also configuration data.
Gotcha. So you're actually storing that data as well?
You bet. We're storing that data.
Report on it later?
And we're using it to correlate. So in the event of like a low and slow attack, we're able to see that logging was turned off on a device. So whereas most log-oriented solutions become blind when logging is turned off, we're able to see, oh, there's a configuration change, logging was turned off. That obviously raises a flag, allows us to detect the potential emerging attack a lot sooner than everybody else.
Gotcha. Another question. I see a lot of SIM tools today are sort of still struggling with the idea of pulling assets into the SIM tool for the purposes of categorizing those assets, production, or if they're under some compliance pressure. Could you talk a little bit about that as well?
Sure. Well, we can pull in asset data from a number of different CMDBs, and we also can go out and actually search. So we can do passive monitoring and kind of analyze what devices we see out there are communicating. So we also do network flow detection. So we've got a whole bunch of different things in the platform from a data standpoint. So we can see that, hey, two devices are communicating, therefore maybe that's something that we should add to the managed assets list to be able to, again, start checking configuration, start checking performance, start analyzing what software is installed, and again, making sure that these devices adhere to a certain policy, which gives the customer, again, an ability to understand what's happening in their environment, gain situational awareness, real-time security posture a lot sooner than a lot of the competing solutions.
I see. Awesome. So now we noticed that there's with things like PCI, for example, there's tons of mid-sized companies out there that are looking for a solution that doesn't take a year to deploy. Do you see yourself selling a lot into that market?
Well, we do. So, to be clear, we focus predominantly on the large enterprise and government agencies.
Yeah, that's almost
but the reality is, due to the nature of how we do things and the fact that we don't require a dedicated database administrator, there's no back-end configuration. The product is well applicable to a larger middle market type of customer that has a lot of different scalability issues, wants to get out ahead of a lot of the emerging attacks, but of course doesn't have the IT resources to want to have to devote to the big heavy back end.
Excellent. So when you're selling both the enterprise and mid-market space, who do you see as your primary competitors?
Well, the big dog in the space is clearly ArcSight. So, again, hats off from the standpoint of creating the market and doing a real good job getting the company out into the public markets and doing that. We run into RSA and Vision a little bit as well. And some of, I'd say, the purpose-built log devices. But again, from our standpoint, we do so much more than log management. If we get into a deal and we're kind of in the final throes and we're competing against these log guys, somebody's messed up while we were qualifying that deal or working with the customer to really expand their purview of what's possible. right? You know, if they sit there and say, I got a compliance issue, I just want to solve that with
Right,
logs,
exactly.
well, that's great. But, you know, our job is to convince them that, hey, you know, you can do a lot of cool security automation stuff. You can do this configuration assessment stuff with the same platform for the same money.
Yeah,
so
you're buying it anyway for compliance. Why not use it for more than just that,
so
right?
compliance tends to be the funding source, but we're selling to network ops, we're selling to security
Awesome.
ops, we're selling
That's
to the
great.
data center, you know, really helping to bridge the gap between all these different operational centers that tend to not use similar tools
Right.
and therefore are not working off of the same page.
A trend that we see right now, especially in this economy, is time to deployment. Can you comment on that a little? It sounds like based on your solution with the change piece and the assessment, that would, and the back end, of course, it would be a lot quicker to deploy.
Yep.
Could you just comment on that?
Yeah, sure. So the product comes shipping with over 250 correlation policies. So,
Okay.
you know, obviously, you know, working with guys like you at
Right.
Vigilant, you're able to very quickly kind of take things out of the box and say, this applies, this doesn't apply, this can be tuned. Again, most of our proof of concepts are 5 days. Right,
Gotcha.
so we sit there and say, we've got 5 days, we're going to make this thing work, we're going to show you value, we're going to generate one of our 1,500 reports.
Right.
Yeah, nobody can use 1,500
Yeah,
reports,
sure,
but
sure,
the
sure.
fact is, in the hands
They're
of
there.
experts, you know, we get it done a lot faster than somebody having to customize these things out of the box, and again, spend more money in integration to make the thing work
Right,
than
right.
you're spending on software. And that's, you know, that's the old SAP model,
Sure,
and that's
sure.
just broken, right?
Got it.
That's broken.
Great. Well, Mike, thanks a lot for your time today.
You bet.
And
Thank you.
good luck at the conference.
Yeah, RSA.